So we're going to ask also, some people can't attend to record it, so we'll be recording. So anyway, well, welcome everybody. I think it's 11 o'clock. And so yeah, we're going to meet for 5 weeks here. This is the first of 5. And we have 2 constraints that we're operating under. First is the time limit. You know, it's quite a bit of, I mean, there's 5 hours is not a short time, but it's also not a long time. And also we wanted to make this accessible and relevant for people on different stages of their interest and path and practice of bhakti. And so that's why we kind of came up with this notion of the essence of bhakti, because essences tend to be a little simple, but also absolutely crucial. They're at the heart of something. And so what we're going to do, so there may be times if we have people who are real philosophical people, or at least scholarly people, where you'll think that maybe I'm not explaining things to the greatest rigor or to the greatest detail that is possible. Please forgive me for that. I'm hoping that when I do that, it won't cause you any damage, right? That you'll get enough of the meaning, enough of the clarity for the application. And because otherwise, if we have to go into, I mean, we have volumes and volumes of theory on bhakti from our great teachers, and we couldn't even begin to go through them in 5 months even. So we'll keep it a little bit simplified. That doesn't mean you're going to miss something. I don't think it's worthwhile to go through the intricate study, but I think I'm going to try to make it so it doesn't hurt you in this way. And the other thing I'm going to focus on is the internal. Because I think we have a tendency to focus on the external when we talk about bhakti. And so I want to try to, I think it's going to be relevant to us. And another thing I'm going to work in is I believe that many times we have a difficulty with language. That we use the same language, the same words that we're accustomed to here in conventional use, and we apply it to spiritual things. And so there oftentimes is a very relevant change in the meaning of the word when used in a spiritual context. And in my experience, this has caused us some misunderstanding and some difficulty. So I'm going to try to look at that. And so actually we have there's also so many detailed things about the practice of bhakti. And we're going to have people here who are kind of just interested. We have many people who are practitioners. So we're not going to go into the details of the practice of bhakti, though that can be given elsewhere. And so I think we tend to focus on the externals more, what it looks like, rather than what it feels like, what our intentions are, and these kinds of things. So to begin with, Prabhupada, he generally translates bhakti as devotional service. And what I'll tell you right now is that's actually, to my mind, an advanced term. It's not as easy as we think. If you just look at the components of it, right? There's first there's service. So there's some notion of wanting to please, and then there's devotion. Right? There's some feeling there towards Krishna. You're devoted to Krishna, and that just doesn't appear out of thin air. So for that meaning to really fully obtain, we actually have to have some advancement in devotional service. It's not a simple thing, because there's some part of the heart, there's some part of our heart is involved in devotion, that we want to please Krishna because he's dear to us in some serious way. And that's true of advanced devotees. So what we'll start with is Rupa Goswami. He gives a definition of bhakti. And the broadest one he gives, this is a portion of one verse where he describes the ultimate bhakti. But one part of the verse describes the kind of bhakti in the most general terms. And he says it's actions directed towards Krishna, or you have a favorable attitude towards him, anukuli. It's like you're thinking favorably of him. And so that's a very, very broad definition. And it covers practically anybody. Because here it doesn't necessitate devotion. It doesn't, it just it works well for somebody, say, who's interested. Say, well, if you've heard about Krishna and you're a little interested, Prabhupada talked about that. People would come and attend his lectures, and they don't have any faith to speak of. They don't have a commitment. But he said, here they're coming and they're spending their time. Right? So someone they're interested. And so there's a favorable intent. And somehow they're trying to connect. And so the action can mean, it's not only physical action, but it can mean like the three main types of bhakti are hearing, remembering, right? And chanting. And so it can be remembering Krishna, trying to understand Krishna. Here we're coming together. And I'm talking to you, and hopefully you'll be talking to me some also as we go along. And we're trying to understand something. So this is considered to be an action. So learning and chanting and hearing and studying, all these kind of things are considered to be actions, as well as other more outwardly physical things are considered to be actions. And they're directed towards Krishna, because Krishna is the topic here, but the relationship with Krishna is here. And we're not here by force. We're not thinking, why do I have to come here? Why did I do this? So it's a favorable outlook towards Krishna. So that obtains. And so why and otherwise why we're doing it, that's a whole nother issue. Okay. And then the other thing about bhakti is that this is a definition from our side of the equation, how we're relating to Krishna. But bhakti, in a more general sense, is the connection between us and Krishna. There's two sides to this equation when we talk about bhakti. It's not just us trying to please Krishna, but it's the construction of an actual interaction, a connection, a relationship. And we'll talk as times go on why that's the case, how that would be the case. And that's really part of what happens that allows us to build actual devotion. So it's a connection between us and Krishna is really implied by bhakti. So this definition is our side of it, how we're interacting. So what we'll start out today is why Krishna? Like, why Krishna? Why should we be studying about Krishna? Why should we be having actions directed towards Krishna? Why should we be interested in Krishna? Why? Right? Because that's and oftentimes I think we misunderstand why, even because we misunderstand some things about Krishna. So let's start. So Krishna, on the one hand, we hear so many sources that Krishna is first of all the source of everything that exists. So he's unique. There's no one that compares to Krishna. He's the controller of everything that exists. He's the Ishvara. He's in charge of everything. Prabhupada, I think, didn't Prabhupada have a little deity when he was in New York? Kartama Shahid, he called the boss. He's the boss. And in fact, going a little deeper, everything that exists is just kind of energies of Krishna. They're parts of him. Prabhupada even mentions how he can feel everything if he wants to. So just like we are souls in a body, and we can feel our bodies, he can feel the co-creation. So he has the ability to do anything with anything. So he's in a very, very unique situation. There's no one comparable to Krishna. He's to be one without the second. There's no such person besides him. So just by nature of that might cause us some interest. If you're interested in, wow, there's such an individual. But the problem there is we may think then, and Prabhupada also will tell us that Krishna is like he's the boss, right? He's the one in charge, the supreme controller, the Lord of everything, and we by nature are Krishna's servants. Now that may give us a certain impression. because we have experienced having bosses. We have experienced persons being in charge. We have experienced being underneath them. And servitorship has usually, in all of our present contexts, not a pleasant thing. You don't necessarily want to be the servant under a master, under a boss. It's not necessarily pleasant. So we may think that the service is obligatory. Prabhupada says by our constitutional nature is that we are servants of Krishna and Krishna is the master. So we may think that service is therefore obligatory, or else, right? If you don't do what your boss says, you get fired. If you're, if it's a king or some other kind of master, right, you get punished. The master needs something from you, or there's oftentimes ego involved, right? People want you to know that they're better than you are, that they're more important than you are. And so, they not only, the boss not only wants you to do the work, but they want you to show him or her some respect, because there's ego involved. And we gain our self-esteem from how we compare ourselves to others. So if we try to put that on Krishna and think of him in that way, if we extrapolate our experience with human beings on Krishna, we will come up with various misconceptions. So first of all, Krishna does not need anything from us. Because not only has he created, he can create universes without any effort, instantaneously. So anything he wants or needs, he can supply. He doesn't need anybody for anything. And so therefore he doesn't need to be dominant over us. And the reason why somebody in a powerful position may have ego and want to belittle you is because we're both human beings. So they want to show how more intelligent or more accomplished or how they're just better than you. And that makes them feel good because also you're a human. Right? So you can gain some pleasure for your ego when you compare yourself to something that's comparable to yourself. None of us are trying to build our ego by showing our superiority over ants. Only somebody pretty evil. Like, there are some people that really have serious psychological problems that will torture animals and things like that. So usually it's a bad sign. But generally, especially if it's a tiny insect, do we care? What if the insect were to glorify us? Would we care? Would it really make a difference for us if they came? Oh, you're such a powerful being. It's an ant. Right? So Krishna doesn't have ego. He can make countless numbers of us. He can make us do what he wants to do if he cared. So Krishna is not an egotistical, he's not a cosmic tyrant. You do what I say or else. Right? Our situation here is, in fact, as we go along with it, that it's an intrinsic part of bhakti that it's free. It has to be freely given. If it is in any way coerced, if it's in any way obligatory, it loses flavor for Krishna. Also, he's not pleased by it. He's not satisfied by it. So we can't think of Krishna as like an egotistical, tyrannical boss. And we are, unfortunately, tinier creatures, and he can bully us. He can coerce us. He can force us. We do what Krishna says or else. That's not the nature of bhakti. That isn't pleasing to Krishna. So we'll discuss how that is. Also, Krishna is not far away. Right? We usually, it's very difficult to be in contact with somebody who's very important. Try to get an appointment with the mayor of your city, or to speak of the governor of your state, or the president of the United States. Okay, who are you? Right? I want to know, who are you? Why are they going to have any time for you? So so with Krishna, maybe he's far away, and if we want to get his attention, maybe we really have to do a lot. Right? For important people, and you're not important. That's how people treat you. Why would I see you? What are you going to bring to me? What are you going to do for me? What is the purpose of me wasting my valuable time on you? So we may think that we have to get Krishna's attention. And we have to be something really special in order to do that. But Krishna tells us that he's interacting with us even now, even if we're not interested in him at all. And he tells us in the Gita like that he's dwelling in the heart. He says he's doing service for us right now. There's three verses in the 15th chapter where he says he's in the heart, and he's in charge of remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. He's inspiring us from within. He mentions that if we become connected with him, he'll very happily give us guidance from within, also help us to come to him. And he says he's also digesting our food. He says, I'm the fire of digestion. He says that the Prabhupada says he keeps the earth in its orbit, and some of the other acharyas say that he keeps the earth from crumbling into dust. He's saying he's the sun. He says he's providing the sunlight and the moonlight, all the things for us. He's actually working with us. And how do we know him in the first place? Right? Is that he reveals himself to us. And not that here I am, here's the boss, better straighten up. But no, he says, I'm interested. And what is his interest? Right? He says, Suradam Sarvadehanam. He says, I'm the well-wisher of everybody. He means us, even everybody. He doesn't just say, people who are straightening up and flying right, doing what he says. He says he's the well-wisher of everybody. So he has some inclinations. This is very strange. We'll have to talk about that. Why would he care? Why would he care? What is his interest? And he claims us as parts of himself. Where am I? So he's inclined towards, in fact, he's already acting in many ways. And he's making himself known. And then at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, and this is another kind of tricky use of language, where Srila Prabhupada translates Sharanam as surrender. You should surrender unto me. And in English, surrender usually means that you are resisting, but a greater, more powerful force overpowers you and takes away your independence. You do what they say. Break down the front door of your house with guns and say, now, get on the floor, do this, give me your money, do this. Doesn't sound great, right? But in the context of the Gita, that word Sharana means also shelter. That you come to me exclusively for shelter. And he makes that unconditional place. Anybody that comes. If you come, then we're connected. So he, even though from our side, we may not care about Krishna, we may not be conscious of Krishna, we may not have any interest in Krishna. He says, whoever you are, I'm open to you. You don't have to do this, and this. You just come to me and show some interest. And I'm ready for you. Doesn't matter what you've done. Doesn't matter anything. My door is open for you. You just have to walk in. I'm letting you know I'm here, and I'm here for you. So it's a whole different situation than a normal, powerful human being. He feels a connection to us. So that changes the way we look at it. So the devotional service or bhakti is not intended to be compulsory. It's not an or else thing. Krishna has given us this realm, this dimension of reality, where we can do what we want to do. And the laws of karma are there, so we have to act fairly towards others. But that's not, Krishna is not angry with us. Sometimes we think, if we do something wrong, God will be angry. He will destroy us. In the cases where God deals with really evildoers, and sometimes he fights with the great evil persons, but he gives them liberation. He frees them from all their karma, and he stops them from making their karma any worse. He does them a favor. He still remains their well-wisher. He's always the well-wisher. And he's here if you're interested. If not, hey, we have the ability to continue on as we do here, under the laws of karma, which are very fair. So there's basically, I said, there's every reason to be interested in Krishna. Both because of his unique status. If you know there's somebody who's created everything and controls everything and is at the head of everything, that should be interesting to you. See how that matters. And then when you understand that person is already dealing with you in so many ways, is interested in you, wishes you well, that should be interesting. I mean, one thing that happens with Krishna is he makes all the laws of nature. And he's not bound by them. So one of the things that's good about Krishna is it's like if you try to deal with customer service, right? And then you get the first line customer service person. There's only so much they can do for you. They're bound by certain rules. And if they don't satisfy, maybe you're lucky you can go up to the next level. And they have more things they can do, but they're still limited. But if you can get to say the owner of the company, I mean, they may be bound by certain, federal laws or something, but they're not bound by their own company laws. They can do whatever you want, even though the rules say you can't do this. Okay, they'll give you your refund, or they'll replace your stuff, or they'll give you, they can do what they want because they're in charge. So it's like the cheat code, right? The cheat code, even in our lives, is you talk to a person who's in charge, and suddenly all the rules are thrown out that were stopping you from getting what you wanted. So Krishna is a cheat code, they call it, right? So it's like, Krishna can make anything happen. That's one of the reasons why people deal with it. So then what happens, right, is we have to decide then what do we do with our interest if we're interested. And so if we begin, from this understanding that this is my free choice. This is my free choice to do it. I'm not compelled. I'm not going to be punished for not doing it. Actually, I'm dealing with somebody in a very, very influential position who cares for me. So, you know. The question is, Krishna says he's not above the laws of nature. I mean, he acts in the world sometimes, so he acts according to them, right? He'll follow dharma, but that's not because he has to. That's because he's doing that as an example for others. So as far as I understand, Krishna is the source of everything and has complete freedom. And Prabhupada mentions that many times. He's completely free to do whatever he likes. If he's under some laws of nature, then there's something he can't do. He can make them all different again if he wants to. Otherwise, he's limited. He's definitely known as unlimited. The way things are because he's made it that way. In one sense, Krishna is not within a creation. He says even in the was it the 9th chapter that everything's within me. So if he wanted the whole world to be different right now, finished. It could be different right now. That's what it means to be in full control. As I said, he's Swarat in the first verse of the Bhagavatam. He's depends only on himself. He's fully independent, and everything else comes from him. That Swarat is very important. He's not dependent upon anything else. He's not connected with anything else. Everything is coming from him. So it's mentioned like that. Krishna acts, he has full freedom. Full freedom. This is mentioned in many places. So when we create something, if we were to create a world that's separate from us that we couldn't modify, right, then we would have to live within that. We build a house for ourselves. Later on, we say, oh, I wish I would have put this closet over there. Or I wish I had another room over here. But we're stuck with it because we built it. It takes a lot of work to achieve. But Krishna could just, okay, different one. No problem. He's not limited by that, by the creation. He can make it as he wishes. This is what full freedom means. You can do that. So if we understand this, because what happens if we think we're compelled, if we think we're forced, if we think that we're, so low on the totem pole that we can be bullied by this higher power, there enters into us a feeling of not so much favorable attitude. Right? Do this or else. I mean, sometimes if we really feel that someone forcing us to do something for our own good, maybe we can feel a little better about that. But if we think that there's some gigantic, powerful being controlling everything, who's taking away our freedom and causing us to act in certain ways, we don't tend to think very kindly about that. Everybody wants to be free. Everybody wants to do it. Now, Krishna will he gives us what he does give. He gives laws of dharma. He does do that. That shows us how we can live in this world in the best possible way. And there's two basic kind of outlooks there. Right? There's a notion of cooperation and a notion where there is sufficient, there's abundance for everybody, and there's a connection and a value for everybody. This is the Deva mentality, right? Where if everybody follows Dharma, the world is created by Krishna. So it has a way that it functions optimally. And so if we fulfill our particular roles according to Dharma, then it will function beautifully for everybody. Everybody can win. Everybody can be successful. Everybody can have what they need. Everybody's valued. Right? And then you have the more prevalent mentality that we have today, the Asura mentality, that says there's not enough. We have to compete for positions and resources. That cooperation is for weak people. And that we have a zero-sum game. There has to be losers in order for there to be winners. And that leads to ugra karma. Terrible things that cause trouble for everybody, you know. So Krishna, when Krishna gives like the law, laws of dharma, it's also for everybody's good. Now you don't have to follow them. You're going to get karmic reactions. It's not that Krishna's going to be angry. You didn't follow my rules, right? But he's showing this is how it works. He's giving you the here you are in this world. How can you navigate it in a way that will be best for you and best for everybody else? So then he puts out dharma. But it's not like he's setting up rules and he's going to be mad if you don't follow him. He gives us, otherwise he could make us do it. He could program us to do that, or he could, really force us to do it. He says, here, this is just, here's my recommendations. Should you like to do it? But there's room for the asuras here. There's room for us to do what we want to do. We have to suffer the karmic consequences, but that's just fairness. It's not anger. He says, look, I'll tell you how to use this. Here's this world is all for you. And here's how you use it. Here's how you use it. If the technology in the Vedas is sacrifice. It says right there in the Gita, right? That by the sacrifice you get this. Sacrifice is like a wish-fulfilling cow. A kamaduk, ishta kamaduk. Fulfills all of your desires. Without harm. By sacrifice, everything increases. So there's harmony. So he gives rules for harmony, but it isn't like he has any. I mean, he wants us all to be happy. He'd prefer if we were, but he doesn't coerce us in that way, and he doesn't punish us in that way. We reap what we sow. We do what we live in a region of fairness. But if we want, Krishna can enter into that. And one of the things that Krishna can do is take away our karma. That's what he says. Surrender. When he says, take shelter of me exclusively, right? I'll remove all your sinful activities. So he says that generally people will be interested in him because they need something. This will be this. I mean, if they say that there's no atheists in the foxholes. So if somebody's in mortal danger, even if they don't have much concern for God, they might begin to pray. Even somebody who's a confirmed atheist, when there's some terrible danger they can't avert, they may even resort to such a thing. Pray to God for help. So this is one of the main ways Krishna mentions this in the 7th chapter of the Gita. That people have something that they desire and can't obtain on their own, or they have something that they need to get rid of and they can't do it on their own. There's some terrible thing that's happened that's causing them problems and they have to get rid of it, or they have something that they need, they desire, and then Krishna comes in. And so in this case, you may begin to see you might have a desire to please Krishna, maybe more than just kind of a favorable attitude. if you're just kind of curious, it's you'll maybe study about him. You may try to try to connect with him, chant Hare Krishna, something to try it, and you're interested. So that's a favorable attitude. But then the notion of really pleasing, right? Because we think, hey, I do something for you and you do something for me. But this also is a mistaken attitude. Because Krishna doesn't need anything. And so whatever you give him, it's not like us. You give me something, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. That modality can't work. Krishna's got everything. And what do you have to offer him? There are so many other kinds of beings more powerful than us, even in this world. What can we give Krishna? So he says, even at that time, even if we're just really interested in Krishna helping us out with something. So we're not personally much interested, but okay, you know, I can't seem to manage this on my own. I need some help. And so let's go to Krishna and see if he'll do something. You know? And so we might think, oh, I'm giving him something and he'll give it to some kind of a fair exchange here. But what's really happening is that because Krishna already has a relationship with us, he already is affectionate towards us. Even if we're not much interested in him personally, he is touched by that. See, Krishna has this power of gratitude. So even if we're mostly just thinking of ourselves there, and maybe once we get what we want, we don't care so much until we have another need. But we came to Krishna. And he sees that as a step forward. And so he appreciates it. So it's not a mechanical thing. I do this and this happens. But it's even that's a relational thing from Krishna's side. And he doesn't get offended by that. And so he said, oh, I'll do something for that person. Look, they came to me. Because they came to me, they could try something else, and I'll help them. So even from his side, it's personal. So what the teachings of Bhakti tell us is that we really shouldn't remain on that kind of a level. That we should become interested in Krishna as a person. He shouldn't just be, like sometimes, right, the parents become the source of money for the children. It shouldn't be an ATM. The parents will think that sometimes. The children are not so grateful, but they love them, so anyway, they do it anyway. It's more like Krishna's attitude, What am I, an ATM? Am I somebody to you? Krishna doesn't care, because he loves us. And so even if our attitude is more that he's an ATM, he doesn't get offended. And so we're supposed to come to the point where we become interested in Krishna. How can somebody be like that? How can somebody be kind like that? How can we become a little grateful? So Prabhupada, he gives us a couple of things that while we're trying to build the connection with Krishna, that help us and really help us to move forward. So it's possible for us to do like that, to worship Krishna. This is called the karma mishra bhakti, where we want something from Krishna and he gives it to us. And so there's not much of a connection. The Prabhupada says we can, and we'll see when we get to what bhakti really means. It's an actual gift of love when we serve Krishna, and we want to do something for Krishna. It's out of real love, and that's not easy to access for us right now. Our hearts are very hard, and so there's a move towards that. There's a way to progress from one thing to another, and so Prabhupada gives us a couple of things where we can start out, which don't involve, exactly love, but still involve our own personal interest. But it's better than just wanting something simple. He says that Prabhupada gives us two things in particular, and he'll tell us that right now in this world we're eternal spirits, but we're living in temporary lives. We have this death problem. In fact, birth and death problem. We keep dying and being born again, even though by nature we're eternal. Krishna tells us that right away in Bhagavad Gita, right? That the wise people have seen that there are things which are temporary and things which are eternal. And the strong indication is given that we should look for the eternal. And how happy are we here? Right? Really, how happy are we here? And how much of the time? So this is not so happy. We're looking for happiness. And then what about wisdom and knowledge? We're kind of confused about how things happen. So he says in Krishna's dimension, so this is the thing about Krishna. Krishna is living in his own dimension. So this is a lower dimension. And he says, by nature, we are also eternal like Krishna. We also are filled with joy, bliss, happiness all the time. And we have complete knowledge. So he says, we have a way, so that by connecting with Krishna, we have a way to upgrade our existence. Now, this is still a selfish motivation. That we're thinking of ourselves. But we're aiming higher than just trying to fix our life here, to remove troublesome things, to gain things. And then he gives this other example, which is interesting. This comes from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where he says that he compares reality to like an organism, a tree or a body. So all of reality is like a single organism. And within organisms, you have specialized organs. Like in our bodies, we have this special organ that produces energy for the body, the stomach. And so Prabhupada says, the hand has to put food into the mouth, which then swallows and puts it into the stomach. And that produces energy for the whole body. So therefore, since the hand tries to eat it, right? Or you smear the food all over your body, no nourishment, no energy comes. And so he says, really, that's how it is in the world, because everything, in one sense, everything that exists is a gigantic organism, and Krishna is the specialized organ for happiness. That's what he says. It's a specialized organ for happiness, just like it says the roots of the tree are specialized for absorbing water and distributing it to the rest of the tree, and the stomach, it produces energy for the whole body. And so he says something interesting that's counterintuitive happens. He says, if you try to make Krishna happy, you will become happy. Right? Usually when we do that, if we are pleasing somebody else, I mean, sometimes if we love them, right, that can their happiness can be our happiness. We can have sometimes that experience, but generally, if that's all we're doing, if we're trying to make somebody else happy, then our happiness lags. This is a problem for us. Who's going to make us happy? But in this case, it's because of Krishna's special position of being the source, controller, and actually everything is part of his being. Then if Krishna becomes happy, his happiness can radiate through the rest of the organism. And so it's something you can try. You can do some service for Krishna. You can chant Hare Krishna. Try to please Krishna, and you'll find out there's something we usually call, in this kind, we usually call the higher taste. The actual words in the Gita are param drishva, or a higher experience, an experience of something higher. So it's not only happiness, but it's a better kind of happiness that comes your way. So this is also selfish, but it connects you more intently with pleasing Krishna. Because how often do we want to be happy? Right? All the time. All the time. So there's a motivation to serve in that way. to please Krishna. So he said there's ways that we can kind of do that, approach by steps, this notion of having it become devotional service, where we actually have devotion for Krishna. So are there any questions or comments? We got this. It's 11:45. See, I do have some things in the chat. Oh, Vrindavani says, in a relation with someone we know, what the other person feels, how do we know what Krishna feels with our service? And so that's a good question. Right? But we're told about Krishna by persons with experience with it. Right? So we know, and Krishna even tells us himself what he likes. And so if we do what he likes, then we know he'll be happy with it. And he particularly, as we'll go, what he particularly likes, of course, is our desire to please him. He mentions this in the Gita, but we'll have to talk about that more later on. But he particularly likes it that we're interested in pleasing him. He says you can offer me very simple things, right? But if it's offered with some devotion, like you want to please him, that this is the currency that he really likes. But otherwise, even if we're doing the prescribed things, there's certain things that are pleasing to Krishna that we're told by, but in the scriptures we're told by persons with experience, then we know that Krishna will be happy with it. So. And yeah, Krishna does follow Dharma, but he mentions that in Bhagavad Gita. He says, if I don't, he says, then everybody will imitate me and the world will go to hell. And we see in his intimate Leela that he kind of seems to bend the rules a little bit also. So he doesn't want to do that openly. It's just people follow prominent persons. So if he does it, we'll think, oh, we can do it too, even though we're not Krishna. So. Yeah, let's see here. Okay. All right. So is there anything else?
So there's a shift at a certain point from, it's like the spectrum of selfishness that seems like at a certain point, what is that point where that spectrum of selfishness becomes?
Well, there isn't. I mean, I will talk about that a lot more, I think, next time. But I'll give you a little bit of a hint. It really starts with our gratitude and our appreciation for what Krishna does. When we stop taking him to be an ATM, or we stop thinking that we're obliged to do it. That's a duty. It's my duty, and so I do it. And oh my God, And so we'll talk about how we can come to the point of loving Krishna. And we'll talk a lot about, I think next time we'll kind of pick up with this notion that happens to us. That because that's the other thing. Ultimately, Krishna is the all attractive. And so if we have sufficient experience with Krishna's personality, his charm, love for him is a natural consequence. It just happens. You can't help yourself. But right now we're not grateful. We'll talk. I guess we'll get ahead a little bit. I was thinking next time to talk a little bit about the Lord Chaitanya in his Shikshastakam. He teaches us about how we get blocked. He gives this really interesting example, because the Shikshastakam describes all the different levels of devotion. It's really, really, it's one step at a time. He goes from the beginnings to Krishna Prema. And then in the first verse, he describes, the power of devotion. He talks about the holy name, but it's, devotion in general can be substituted there. All the wonderful things that happen if we connect ourselves with Krishna. And then he tells us that Krishna is making this so available to us. He says the holy name, which he's given to us freely. Right? So many Vedic mantras, you have to have it. Only certain people can chant it, usually Brahmins. You have to be in a state of ritual purity. Sometimes it's only certain times and places it can be done. Right? He says, I'm giving you the name with no strings attached. There's no time or place or circumstance that is required for you to chant it. You can take it. And it's filled with all my energies. So he's giving us everything on the silver platter. Here you go. Here's everything you could ever desire, ever want, ever be. And I'm giving it to you just so easily. And what is our response? Oh, unfortunately, I don't have real attachment for that. I have nanuraga instead of anuraga. If somebody walked up to you and gave you, $10 billion, you'd probably be a little excited. All right? If you have any interest in money whatsoever. Wow, what a day! This person gave me that. We'd be, calling our friends. Wow, And here Krishna gives us something infinitely more valuable than that. We go, yeah, maybe I'll try it. How often do I have to do it? A lot? How often do I got to do it? Right? It's kind of hard, We're not excited. Right? So there's no gratitude. There's no gratitude. What else do I got to do? If someone offered us $10 billion, we say, what do I got to do? What do I got to do? I'm ready to do anything. Eyes get all big. We're ready to do all kinds of difficult things. So the place where it starts to get personal, instead of just kind of intellectual, like this might be a good thing for me, is where you start to feel gratitude. That's my understanding. That's what's implied by that second verse. Then we'll talk about what that takes to really feel much gratitude. Because why do we not feel gratitude? Because we have such big egos. Gratitude kind of implies, right? You can be a little appreciative. We're thinking we deserve it. Yeah. Why we shouldn't have it? Krishna's giving everything out. Okay. Why shouldn't I have it? Two other people are getting it. Why shouldn't I? I should go back to Godhead. Why not? Who am I? Somebody of no account? Come on, I'm somebody too. Why to be appreciative? So this is the internal part. The internal part. So I do think we sometimes get caught on the external part. What do we have to do? And if I do it, and we'll talk about this also. If I do it, then I get the result. What else do I have to do? What else do I have to do? But we know that Krishna doesn't need our service. He's got everything. What he wants is that desire to please him. He wants that personal connection. That's what really gets him. And so even though I do everything right, if there's nothing inside, if my heart is empty, then it just becomes kind of service, not devotional service. And we stay stuck in that kind of prideful thing. Oh, I'm doing so much now. Krishna must be really appreciating me. I'm doing this service and that service and everything very perfectly. What else can I do to become more perfect? The whole, what I will suggest to you is that the whole path of making progress in devotion is becoming less prideful. You'll see that when Lord Chaitanya recites the Shikshastakam in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll see how he keeps saying, as he moves from one verse to the other, which is making it going deeper and deeper into bhakti, that he keeps getting at greater and greater humility, greater and greater gratitude. I mean, I guess the stuff I shared today was more, stuff I've kind of accumulated, because this is why I've been thinking about this stuff a lot, because I just in general, I see myself and so many devotees getting kind of stuck. It's called the Anishtita Sadhana Bhakti platform, and I've been wondering, I believe the teaching is beautiful and sufficient and complete, and I believe it works. I don't think there's any problem there, but I'm convinced that the problem lies with us. Not having the right attitude, not having the right understanding. We in this world, we increase by doing more and more and more, and we get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But the path of bhakti, you get smaller and smaller and smaller. The ego goes down. The ego goes down. So we'll talk about that. How can we make the ego go down? What should we be thinking? What should we be feeling? How can we kind of reboot ourselves, getting rid of some of these other misconceptions? How can we free ourselves of this notion of this is obligatory, Krishna is some kind of taskmaster? How can we begin to appreciate Krishna's kindness, his concern? How can we reciprocate with him? See, Krishna is ahead of the game. We're thinking, I'm going to do this and get Krishna's attention, and then I do more and get Krishna's attention, and then I do more and I get Krishna's further attention. It's like I'm the driving force, but I'm actually the limiting force. Krishna made himself available to us first. He showed us first. He says, my door is open. As Lord Chaitanya, he's coming after us and saying, come on, chant Hare Krishna. He's making the first move. And we're going, nah. So Krishna, Prabhupada says that Krishna wants us to be connected with us more than we're able to even be able to do that. His desire to have us come to him is greater than we even have the ability to desire that. So the relationship is open on his side. It's not that we have to prove ourselves, we have to be something, we have to do all this kind of stuff. It's open on his side. The problem is that it's closed on our side. And when we think too much about me and how much better and bigger and stuff I'm getting, it's still about me. I'm closing it off. See, Krishna, okay, I'm going to deserve this, Krishna. I'm not even asking for help. So I can do this. I'm learning more, and I know more shlokas, and I do this, I do more services, I'm really doing a great job. So let me in. But Krishna says, where's the love? Where's the gratitude? Where's the relationship? And we actually block Krishna's mercy by our egos. Okay, it looks like we're at the top of the hour. So anyway, so I kind of gave you at least a partial overview. And then next time and the next following times, we'll try to dig down a little bit, focus a little bit more, and try to see how if we treat bhakti as a relationship, and we can see how to cultivate that. And see how we can try to navigate ourselves through this path where the ego is too strong. So I appreciate your time, and coming here on your Saturday morning. And hopefully we'll see you again. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, Gary. That was so beautiful and so helpful. Thank you very, very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
All right.